Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Matt Garvey. We're going to make some comics today, and this video is all about plotting. So let's go. Okay, so some of you may be watching this and thinking, why haven't you shown us how to write a script yet? And I get that, and we will get to the script writing stage of making comics very, very soon. The reason for this video is I want to talk about how to plot your comic, because plotting is very important when it comes to writing. So why do we need a comic plot? Well, a comic plot will help you stay focused when it comes to writing your story. And yes, you can just dive straight in and write your story and hope for the best and hope that it works. But doing this before we start the next stage will help us be more divisive in how we tell our stories. Because there's certain things that we can do that can make our stories more interesting. So I'm going to show you a few things to help. Okay, so before we start talking about plotting, I just want to answer a question that I get asked quite a lot online at Comic Cons, which kind of dovetails into the subject that we're going to be talking about today. And that question is, a lot of people ask me, how long should my comic be? How many pages does it need to be? And the short answer is, your comic can be as short or as long as you want. But what I advise to people is, when you're plotting your comic and when you're making your comic, try to have it as a multiple of 4 pages. So what you need to understand is when you send your comic to the printer, a printer does not print one single comic page per sheet of paper. It doesn't work like that. What they do is they will take a large sheet of paper and they print 4 multiple pages on it, and then they crop it down and then they fold it over, and then it gets put into the book and stapled. So if I show you an example of this, if you take any comic and open it into the dead center, and you can tell it's the dead center because of the 2 staples inside, what you'll see is if we take this as the first page, which is page 1, this would be page 2, this is page 3, and this is page 4. And if I slowly lift this page up and being very careful, you will see that that's one single sheet of paper, and each set of pages are the same way throughout. So they are all multiples of 4. So if you keep your comic to a multiple of 4 pages, it means you won't have blank pages at the end of the book. But as I said, this is just a recommendation, and you can print to any page length you want. So now we're going to pop over to my computer and I'm going to show you how to plot a comic. Okay, so this is the document that I use when I plot my comics. It's just a very simple, basic table that I set up in Word. That all it does is on the left-hand column, it numbers the pages of my comics 1 to 24, because all my comics tend to be 24 pages long. If your comics are longer or shorter, just add and subtract the rows as and when you need them. In the second column is just reminds me of where the page turns are within a comic. So this is really good for a writer to know, because a page turn is a great place to put a reveal or a twist, or something exciting that you don't want the reader to know before they turn the page. To put it another way, if this was a horror film, the page turn is where you'd want to put your jump scares to scare the audience. And in the third column, that is literally where I mark on the page where certain aspects of the story are going to go from start to finish. And like I said, it literally just creates a map for me to know where I'm going to and where I'm starting through. And literally I just go through this and I just fill in the blanks. Also guys, just to let you know that I've made this document available for yourselves. So if you go to the link in the description, it will take you to my DROPBOX where you can download this, and hopefully it will help you on your road to plotting your own comics. So have a look, have a play, and see what you think. Okay, so that brings us back to the task at hand. What are we going to plot today? Well, I had a think, and for those of you that don't know, me and my artist collaborator buddy J. Francis Totti created a new comic during the lockdown called Big Naughty Word Off Worms, and we were posting a page a day. It was just keeping us active, and in that comic we created a character called Walter, who's a giant mutated lobster. And literally last week I had the idea of doing a one-shot for Walter so I can tell his backstory and his origin. So that's what we're going to plot. So if you guys are ready, let's go. So Walter Giant Lobster. So obviously he's been mutated somehow. And why is he a lobster? Well, I thought obviously he's going to be a fisherman, a lobster fisherman. And what I wanted to do is show how he becomes mutated into that creature and show him how he meets the faceless villain at the end of the story. But I also wanted to tie this into the overall story of Big Worms as well. And for those of you that don't know the story, in a nutshell, these worms are sent into space for tests,
and while they're in space, they're irradiated during a solar storm, and the space station they're on explodes, and them and the debris from the space station comes crashing back to Earth, and then the worms become giant, and then they take over the world. So I wanted to tie that in. So I thought one could have the impact on the other as well. Okay, so what's going to go on the first page of my comic? Well, like most comics, we need to set the scene and establish where we are. So if Walter is a fisherman, we are most likely going to be in the harbour. So that's where we're going to set it. So it's an establishing page in the harbour. There we go. Okay, so that's the first page. So I know that's what's going to be. But I also want to make sure that I put in the power plant that explodes in there as well. So power plant. So we're not doing the actual page breakdowns. We are literally just bullet pointing what we're going to be showing on that page when we break it down later for scripts, okay? Okay, so that's our first page done. So what do we need to do next? Okay, so we need to introduce our main character, who in this case is Walter. So we're going to introduce Fisherman Walter. Walter, because he's not been mutated just yet. And do you know what? We are going to give him a dog as a companion. Why are we going to give him a dog? Well, he needs someone to talk to. Otherwise, he's going to sound like just like a crazy guy that's rambling excessively out loud, or all his dialogue's going to be in caption boxes, which isn't fun to read for the reader. So it's nice for him to have someone to bounce ideas off. I mean, you know, there's a reason why Batman was given Robin, you know, for someone to talk to. Otherwise, it's just some guy moody on rooftops, you know, scouring the city. And, you know, even in Castaway, they gave, you know, Tom Hanks Wilson the volleyball. So, yeah, so Walter's going to have a dog who we're going to name later. And they are going to be talking about the power plant. Talking about the power plant ruining the fishing. And that's going to go on for 2 to 3 pages. That's not set in stone. These are just placeholders of what I think scenes are going to be. And I know scenes usually run from, 1 to 4 pages, sometimes longer. So this is just, just a hold of what we're doing. Okay, so what do we do next? We need to try and tie this into Worms somehow. So how am I going to do that? So what's happening in Worms? The space station's exploded. And, the debris and the worms are going to be flying back to Earth. So what am I going to do? Maybe on Walt's boat there's a radio and there's a news broadcast that says, we have unconfirmed reports of an explosion in space, but the authorities have said, there's nothing to be afraid of, or they're denying anything. So why don't we use that? So, okay, so boat on radio, news broadcast. Broadcast about unconfirmed explosion. Okay. Unconfirmed. There we go. Okay, so how do we tie this in? Okay, so now we need to have Walt acknowledge the news. So Walt talks to dog about the news and is not surprised the world is coming to an end. Okay, so they decide to call it a night early and start to paddle in. Call it a night and paddle back, talking about going to the bar for a few drinks. Talking about going to bar, call it a night and paddle. Talk about going to bar, and then at that point, okay, so that's a page turn as well. We've got next, so we can do something exciting here. So why don't we have Walt reacting to a sonic boom caused by the destroyed space station entering Earth's atmosphere. That works. and then we can have it hit the debris hits the power station, and it explodes. Boom. Literally, boom. If I could put debris, that'd be handy. Okay, so that's 9 pages done of a comic plotted already, and that literally has taken us, 10, 15 minutes maximum. Okay, so the power plant explodes, and we cut back to Walt and Dog paddling against a giant tidal wave. Giant irradiated tidal wave, even better, irradiated tidal wave, and they're overcome by it, obviously, overcome by it. Then we can have cut to the boat being overturned, and Walter is trying to find Dog, who has swum off. It's a boat overturned. So we're going to cut to the boat overturned. Then we can then we can have Walter getting back to shore, but he won't know it, but we will, and he's starting to mutate. Then what are we going to do? We're going to have, and looking for Dog still. Looking for Dog. Okay, so we're going to have, do that. Yeah, I'm going to kill the dog. I'm going to kill the dog, guys, sorry. Walter finds Dog, and Dog is dying. Oh, it's going to make me cry writing that. Okay, so you're going to do that. So how are we going to lead this on? So we're already 13 pages done. We've got 11 more. Okay. Okay, so we're 11 pages done. What are we going to go to next? Maybe Walt. Walt is inconsolable, walking along the coast to Bar, unaware that he is mutating. If I could spell mutating would be handy. Why is it not working? Mutating, there we go. Okay, so why don't we have him arriving at the bar those are going to go to so he can drown his sorrows? Walter arrives at bar. We need to think of a name for that. But it looks closed. I could say it's open 24 hours. It says open 24 hours, but looks closed. So the owner's closing up because of the explosion. Okay. Closing because of explosion. Okay. Okay, so now Walt's going to enter, and the owner's not going to look around, but he's going to explain that we're closed, and Walt is going to say hi or talk to him because it's his local. Okay, so Walt enters, and the owner says we are closed without looking around, and then maybe we'll, as above, we'll make this a little bit longer so we can have a full-on reveal of mutated Walt, and the owner runs off. Because that's on a page turn as well, so that might be a nice reveal. And then maybe Walt sees himself in a mirror behind the bar. Maybe he sees himself in the mirror behind the bar. Boom. Okay, bad bar even. Okay. Okay, so we've got 5 pages left, and we still need to tie in the faceless villain from Worms as well. Okay, so what can we do? Okay, so maybe we can cut to sometime later, and Walt's walking down the road, fully mutated. You know, like it's like a coast highway or something like that, and maybe okay, yeah, that could work. Okay, so stay with me here. So some time later, Walt is walking down a coastal road, fully mutated, claw dragging along in shock. Then we cut to a fancy car driving, and the faceless villain is behind the wheel, talking on the phone, giving orders, which I'm not going to explain because it will spoil Worms, so I can tie it into that because this is going to go between issues 4 and 5 of Worms, giving orders to so then he, on that page turn, he's going to hit Walt. I know what he did last summer style. Car hits Walt. Car hits Walt. And yeah. Okay, so car hits Walt. Okay, so the villain's going to get out. He's going to get out. And he needs to... So Walt needs to end up with him in Worms. So he needs to try and persuade him, so which means he can't be horrified by how Walt looks, because he's going to be, without giving away spoilers, he's going to be like an evil scientist. So villain gets out. Is not horrified by Walt. Obviously Walt's not hurt because he's made of a giant shell now. And then villain persuades him to leave, gets Walt to leave with him, and says he could help. He is a scientist and can help him. So they drive off together. And boom, that's it. So we have literally just plotted an entire issue in what, 20 and under 20 minutes. So that's it. So that's how easy it is, and that's what I do. So now I have my story plotted out, and now I need to go away and I need to put a little bit more detail in it. I need to come up with a name for the dog, the bar, the barman, that kind of thing. So I'll let that percolate, and then we will come back and I will show you how to use this and turn it into a script. So yeah, hopefully that has shown you some of my process, and hopefully it helped. And that's another video done. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you found it interesting and you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, a like, share and a subscribe. Also, don't forget to hit that bell so you don't miss out on your next video to help you make your first comic.
Also, before I go, I just want to ask you guys a question, because as you know, I'm making this channel for you to help you make your first comic, and at the moment I'm trying to keep the videos down between 6 and 10 minutes so they're easily digestible. But as I get a bit more in depth with regards to like script writing and stuff like that, they're going to get a little bit longer. So I need to know from you guys if you want them to be one big chunk, or if you want me to chop them up into smaller videos, and make it a bit more easily digestible. So in the comments below, if you could just put the number 10 if you want them smaller, or 20 if you want them in big chunks, and that way I'll know what you guys want as an audience, and it will hopefully make the channel a bit more engaging for you guys. So if you could do that, that would be great. And apart from that, remember, if I can make comics, anyone can, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.